Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back with another brand new video. A video, by the way, that wasn't supposed to look anything like this, because in my mind when I was planning the weekend's upload and what I was envisioning, what I wanted the end of season recap to be, it wasn't supposed to be sitting here where I would need to edit in the graphics. It was actually going to be a cheeky wee car vlog, because I was going to use that as almost a bit of symbolism, maybe a metaphor for me in my car, because normally whenever you see that it's because I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, or something's really annoyed me, and I wanted to pair that with the curtain coming down at the end of the season as almost a perfect little wrap up of what this entire campaign has been. Each of those things, that's what I had planned, because again in my brain I couldn't envision this game, which is the deadest of dead rubbers, that had both teams with nothing to play for, nothing to fight for, everything wrapped up for them. It was going to be a back and forth contest, there wasn't any pressure on the game, it was going to be a bit more open and everybody would be scoring goals, and I thought it would just be the regular end of season dead rubber that would see a basketball game, that would see a couple goals, that would see subs and rotations, and there'd be nothing really for us to sink our teeth into. By God, how wrong was I? And it's not just how wrong was I, but how naive actually was I coming in to this game, because how did I overlook these officials and the SFA, and how did I not expect or anticipate somehow, some way they would take the deadest of dead rubber and make it all about them and have their fingerprints written and saw all over it. It's painful, ladies and gentlemen, and at this show I'm still a wee bit silly, but you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, how's the SFA getting brought into this? It was a referee call, it was Andy Dallison VAR. Well, if you actually watch today's video, you know exactly why that will be the case, and we'll dive into that a wee bit later, because you could probably tell, like, if you had saw the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but even if you didn't, I imagine you've seen either tweets, videos, YouTube videos. Everybody's broke this down and discussed it already, probably by the time I've uploaded my video, so you know exactly why we're having to talk about a referee call, because Rangers got robbed a goal the day. But before we really sink in it, because again it is going to dominate the majority of this video, again just looking at the game in as whole, as a 2-2 draw probably a fair result? Probably, ladies and gentlemen. We had chances, they had chances, our backline's about as useful as toilet paper when it's wet, so it doesn't surprise me us conceding the goals in our manner, you know what I mean? Because what was it? Cross coming from Tavernier side where he can't stop a cross, and a simple ball into the box that beats us every time. My God, I'm so shocked about that. None of that is a surprise, and the result isn't really a surprise, as we're not really good at the old football these days. We've not really got a strong enough team to continue to win games of football, but again there is that wee urge and there is that little sickness in your stomach the day, because we scored 3 good goals the day and only 2 of them were bafflingly given. And before we dive more into that and more on the officials, again, individuals that stood out in the game of football, it's the same man and it's the same individual each and every single game, Mr. Raskin. And I'm going to talk about him, right? And I'm going to use a couple minutes, maybe a minute and a half, to talk about Raskin, because this genuinely could be the last time I speak about Raskin in a Ranger shirt in terms of a game recap. He could be gone off, and when you look at how hot he's been, especially since the turn of the year, man of the match, man of the match, man of the match, the man of the match he sees won in a row, the way he's went about his business, player of the year, players player of the year, everything like that. It's no wonder if the guy goes ahead and gets his dream move down to the EPL, or if somebody else comes in and offers money that he can't afford to turn down, because there is a hell of a lot of money out there. No in Scotland, because we are so embarrassingly run our leagues behind everybody else, and we sort of touched on that in the Cherny Problem video that I know some of yous went ahead and watched last night, so I'll not go over it again, just how badly run league we are and how there is very little interest in actually staying in Scotland long term. But Raskin's got that in front of him if he wants to go ahead and take it. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sit and say what I've said for a long time now. We cannot afford to lose him, because every game he stands out a mile, every game he runs the show, every game he does the running for multiple people, and every game he elevates those around him. He is a captain of that team, he is running our team, and he has been actually adding for the stat lovers the goals and assists. Now it's not just pretty dominating midfield performances, right? Because I talked about Jacko, I even talked about Lunny. When they were all at their best, they would never really get in the score sheet, they would never really get assists, so you had to actually watch the game to appreciate how they changed the game. Even the likes of Stephen Davis, who would sit a wee bit further back and just orchestrate things, would never really get the goals and assists that Raskin has been getting recently. But now Raskin's take all those best qualities, and I'm not saying he's as good as all them, I'm just saying he's impacted games the way Jacko has before, and Lonnie's done before, and even the way that Davis had in terms of orchestrating the entire midfield. But now he's gone ahead and impacting the other side of the game and scoring goals, usually with his noggin, by the way. I've not seen a small guy jump like that since Tim Cahill sitting there boxing corner flags. An incredible timing on his jump, but also his assists and the way he's carving out him defences. He's just an incredible footballer, and if this is the last time I get to praise him in terms of a Rangers shot for a game reaction, then fair enough, because he certainly went ahead and deserved it. Not a lot of people thought he would be what he is now, even at the start this season. He's had a couple injuries, a couple knocks, a couple managers that didn't go ahead and fancy him in different areas, but he's forced his way into the starting 11. He is the first name in the team sheet, and if I was building a team for next year, and if I'm envisioning what I want to win us next year, the first name on that team sheet from our entire squad is Raskin. So I would be devastated if he left, but am I surprised? No, because he is by far your best player. Another game with a goal and an assist. He continues his fantastic ratio, but if you actually watch the game of football, you know he actually scored 2 goals in goal and assist, but somehow, some way, was robbed quite incredibly of his first one. But don't worry, I'm sitting here for a reason, and that is going to be using some clips and some footage, or as much clips in his footage as I can, because sometimes I do put clips in, or I put highlights in of what I'm actually talking about. By the time I upload it to YouTube, it either gets copyright claimed or it gets blocked. So that's why sometimes there's the odd rough cut in terms of these videos when you're going ahead and watching them, because I've either had to cut out the entire section, or I've had to cut out the video, but the lead up to the video, which is the part of the video, doesn't make sense because there's no go the outcome. So it usually just gets chopped, and that's why sometimes there is some rough cuts. So I'm going to try and work my best way round this one so you can really see the clips, so you can really see the pictures, and aye, wish me luck in terms of that aspect of it. But before we go ahead and get there, let's build our way up to it the right way then, shall we? And that is the game recap for the final game of the season. The starting 11 only brought up a couple raised eyebrows, one of them being Jeffy not playing, who was finally back to his best and looking like he was building something, and neither was Egaman, who the last time on this surface scored a hat-trick and nearly dragged us from the halfway line to score a 4th goal that unfortunately hit the post, right? None of them were in the starting 11 or even the 18, and everybody started to panic, but it's because they were injured. So aye, we can all unclench. The rest of the team was what it was. I'm not going to sit and bore everybody. I'm not happy about this, or the youngsters not getting. Let's just skip the dance now. It wasn't ever going to happen under Barry Ferguson, so we have to move on. The only thing I was actually pretty happy with was seeing Danilo finally get a start. There's something about that lad when he brings the ball down and he's calm on the ball and he's passing. It is pretty exciting, and I still think there is possibly a player in there, but he's never been given enough time to show if he is wanting it, and that could be another one that's away in the old summer. And aye, we never really got to see that Czerny-Danilo partnership. Remember the partnership that was so strong in Dutch football? We never got to see it, bar little sparing moments in today's game. But it wasn't Danilo amongst the goals. Nana, he was on the left-hand side, of course. Anyway, the second minute of the game actually comes from a defensive error, and for once, it's not even us. What is this? I like it a lot. Anyway, it comes for a goal kick. They take a short one, then they try and punt it to the channel, and Raskin again just reads the ball perfectly, jumps up, big header. Not only is that a header interception, he headers it right into the path of Dessers, who, to be fair to him, takes it on the swivel, buries it into the back of net. 2 minutes into the game as he's edging closer and closer to winning the golden boot up to that point, and I believe he now go ahead and win it. Congratulations to the big man. He did just come short of banging a second goal just 2 minutes later, as again Raskin wins the ball, 3rd minute of the game, takes it, plays him in where he's maybe got the chance to play Czerny, and I think if he could take another crack at it he would pick out Czerny, but he gives it to Dessers. Dessers spins, but unfortunately this time can't get the shot away, or it could have been a quick fire dirty double in the first 4 minutes, supplied by Raskin and almost finished by CD number 9. But again, to give credit, that is now the 5th game in a row that Dessers has now scored, and if this had meant anything in terms of our running, if we had anything to play for and there was at least some pressure in these games, that could have been a legendary running for the big man. But unfortunately, it's just one of those that people will forget about, despite him scoring in consecutive games. But moving on from there, you knew it being a Hibs game, you knew it being where we were over at East Road, they were always going to bite back, and you knew for once, for one thing for sure, that was Boyle was going to be heavily involved. And yeah, he rips away for Tavernier. I'm so shocked about a fast player running away for Tav. Never believe it. Anyway, bombs by Tavernier. Cuts inside, but his shot is defended brilliantly by Big Suitor. But in the midst of running back and trying to clear it, Balogun ends up pulling up with yet another injury. And we're talking about lasts and goodbyes. For me personally, I think that will be the last time we see Leon Balogun in a Rangers shirt. And it's maybe cruel the way it's ended, but 10 minutes into the game he's unable to continue. He's sprinting, trying to get back, but once again his body has betrayed him, and that could be the ending chapter for his time at Rangers, and honestly the ending chapter to one of my favourite centre-backs over the last couple of years. Again, I know people will point to his injury history and his injury record, etc, etc, but every minute he was on, he gave absolute everything, and I just thought he's held himself brilliantly in a Rangers shirt. And I think he is one that, despite us being just done with the defence, because our defence is shocking. Every one of them is just a bit pish, right? Can I just say it? Every one of them in their own way at certain things are all a wee bit pish. But the one person I think you could take out of that one and you're never really directing any frustration is at Big Leon. He came here for free, and I think he's leaving after a couple years, despite a wee QPR stint in the midst of that, having impressed nearly every single time he played. So if this is the last time, Leon Balogun, we salute you, sir. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if Balogun has broke down and he is gone off, if the past has unfortunately caught up to him, surely we open the door to the future of this club and give valuable minutes and experience to Clinton Nassala, who will definitely be here next year. Obviously no, it was Robin proper. Anyway, moving on there, Diamandi picks out Cherny brilliantly, who takes a great first touch, runs through, but finishes poorly in my opinion. But the way he continues to look at the offside flag and the fact that he was a mile offside, Sahad tells me the big man knew he was offside, and it would have been slightly different if he never constantly waited for the linesman to put his cheeky wee flag up. But that was sort of it for the first 15 minutes. You're thinking, all right, not too much to talk about. Well, the next 12 and a half seconds certainly changed everything as we get the ball in, and it's a beautiful ball. I think it is from Diamandi over to Raskin, who's ran again in behind, and that's something he's added to his game. That wasn't he. We didn't sign him being that. That wasn't the player he was. He's developed and learned, and maybe you have to give credit to Barry for the influence he's had on Raskin, because I've never seen him make as many forward runs under any other manager than the short stint I've seen him under Barry Ferguson, and that's just my personal opinion. But it's brilliant. Ends up sort of nutmegging the keeper. He then kicks it. It looks like it's gone in. He's in a sort of tussle with Rocky Bashiri. It looks like it's gone in. Raskin looks, and instead of smashing the ball that's at the feet of the guy inside the net, Raskin just puts his hand up and starts to celebrate because he can see it's a goal, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, does any single sane person out there believes for a second that if Raskin had any doubts that that ball wasn't over the line, he from here to there isn't he sticking his foot out and kicking it? Some people scream, why did he know just boot the ball? Do you know why he's no just booted the ball? Because he's already saw he's scored and he's got his hand up. Now somehow it isn't given. The ball eventually falls to Dessers, who doesn't score it unfortunately in that incident as well. But why should you have a second or third attempt at scoring a goal when the ball was already in the back of net at the first time? Why does Rangers have to score 3 different ways for one goal to count? Explain it to me like I'm 12. But it wasn't one of those games that was the incident and that was it, done and dusted, because that would be bad enough. But it was even worse, because from the direct bit of play from us scoring a goal, the goalkeeper picks the ball up, rolls it out, and about 24 and a half seconds later, Hibs have scored a brilliant goal. Taking nothing away, it's a great finish getting beyond Jack Butland, who has definitely played his last game for Rangers. And I'm sitting saying, well, they're going to check back, and I wasn't worried about that at all, because I've seen us score goals. I mean, the likes say the goals in the Old Firm where the pressure's at its peak. I've saw us chop off a goal because 30 seconds earlier Tom Lawrence fouled Callum McGregor in the halfway line before the pass went there to the cross to ends up gone in. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if they're scrolling back for those types of incidences, and it's not just about us, I'm just using an example that everyone will actually remember. I'm sitting saying, well, they're going to scroll that back, VAR will look at that, see who have scored, take their goal off and give frickin' ours, because that would be common sense, and they've got the technology and time to do that. But somehow, some way, they spend their time checking for offsides, and they give a wee quick quote and say, oh, they've not got conclusive evidence if the ball was there the line. Like, I'm not trying to be funny and I'm not trying to be theatrical, but surely to Christ, every single person that's watched today's video knows that ball is there the line. It not only hits the inside of the post and swivels back the way in terms of the net. Rocky Bashiri's actually in the net and he ends up kicking it off the side of the net in part of his attempted clearance slash block that wasn't a block, because why? It was already in the back of the net. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Why do I need to spend 2.5 minutes talking about us scoring a goal that wasn't given? Why has VAR actively ignored a clear goal for Rangers and given a goal for Hibs in the same passage of play? Just why? In all my years, and I mean all my years of watching football at various levels, I've never seen such a brain dumb bit of refereeing and officiating right frickin' here. But then you start to look at who you're relying on. You start to look at the guys that's given the whistles, that's given the technology. You know what I mean? You give somebody that can't drive a Formula 1 car, what the hell do you think's going to actually go ahead and happen with it? That's exactly what's happening now with the technology we've spent our money on. We've gave it to people that didn't know the game and aren't very good at it. Not only do you have Andy Dallas at VAR, who I've said enough about earlier, I think he's absolutely shocking, but you're also rewarding the likes of Nick frickin' Walsh, who's standing there watching it unfold, and he makes the brain decision to continue the game like that. He doesn't call up despite having a clear view of it, and this is just a couple days after he relegated St Johnstone, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I've already explained, I'm not saying they're a stayed up if it wasn't for that, but he had direct hand in them gone down on that day because he gave a shocking penalty in the game of football. That's never a penalty, and everybody that's ever saw a game of football or played a game of football will know that was never a penalty. But somehow, some way, Nick Walsh, 3 days after making the single most controversial decision and the biggest mistake an official has made this season, apparently, but that's the way it's been reported, he then goes ahead and is directly involved in another brain dumb officiating and a bit a referee. And like, honestly, I know Scottish football hates itself to death and it constantly rewards failure, but when's enough? Truly, is 2 massive mistakes in the space of 3 days going to be enough for people who let go of their vile and their bias and their hatred against certain teams? Can we not just take a step back and look at these diddies with a whistle and say, by God, they're shocking at their job, and we as Scottish football fans deserve better. And you know what? This is Scottish football in a nutshell, right? There's a guy there in the Rangers top moaning about a referee. Aye, but he's saying exactly what you said, though. Remember about the referee last week in our game, saying he was absolutely terrible. He's saying the exact same thing, the exact same problems. Aye, but look, he's got a Rangers top on. Ah, you're right. Haha, you're bitter. That's Scottish football, and that's the problem. Like, I know some people say you're making too much a big deal of this, but I'm just sick to death of seeing the same guys constantly. You know, when I used to make the SPFL show, we talked about these referees, we'd talk about Motherwell St George, we'd talk about Ross County playing this, we would actually go look at it. So it's not just me as a Rangers fan reacting to another referee and saying everything is against me. These referees are shocking at their job, and I need to bring the SPFL show back to show that I do actually watch other games and referees get other things wrong as well. It's so bad, it's so shocking. What I actually want to see going forward, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody for the club having at least a bit of balls to say something, right? And it could be Patrick Stewart. He was quick enough to sort of shout at Graham Souness. Tifo, he's had a couple of things with the fans. He's been quick out to shout. He's been quick there, quick there to put the boot in. Is he going to be quick here to actually defend the club and call out what this BS actually is? That would be great to see some strong leadership. And, you know, Barry Ferguson, I don't know if he has, by the way, you know what I mean? This video's edited, I wasn't at the game today or anything like that, right? So I've came up, I've started filming right away, I've not seen a single interview, I've not seen what anybody said, so he might have done this, or he might not have. But what I really want to see once I stop recording this video is Barry knowing he's not getting the job. He's not getting it, ladies and gentlemen. Spoiler alert. I don't think anybody is shocked to that. Can he not just come out? He's got a bulletproof vest on the now. That's his last game as the manager position. He's got a chance to actually make a statement, to come out and question these officials and question why this wasn't given, and make it as big as possible so it can't just get swept underneath the rug because it's the end of the season and everyone's forgot about it. And what will we get? A statement for the SFA on their website. During the VAR call, the VAR review over the last 3 months, this decision was actually wrong. It should have been like this. They've done enough of that type of stuff. They should be making this as big as possible, that this gets explained why the official, the lino that's got direct view of this, isn't putting his flag up, and why Andy Dallas, despite having the technology there to see the stuff that we've all seen, can't dictate that ball's the line. How much more evidence does he need? Does he need a Wimbledon Hawkeye to show him? Because if he does, he shouldn't be in the frickin' job. Everyone knows it's in, and I'm sorry that I've went on it too long, but it's just embarrassing, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe it's fitting that the season recap does end this way, right? Because we've been embarrassing on the park, and the officials have been just as embarrassing, in my opinion. Not only for us, but everybody all season. But again, nobody cares because Rangers fans say it, and so well, it's crap. But moving away from the big incidents, we did have a couple chances before the first half ended. Tavernier comes close after some good build-up play. Czerny, Danilo, Dessers into Diamande, plays it back to Tavernier, who has a shot that goes just a whisker wide. And speaking of the man himself, after a free kick won, I believe, by Danilo, Tav steps up and forces a very good save for the goalkeeper. No other thing to talk about from the other end is a long ball from to Martin Boyle, who hits it on a volley that if it went in, it probably stole goal of the season. It was a joke they hit it as well as they did, but thankfully it went just freaking wide. But that's it for the first half. Not much to talk about, really. Now, people might argue, well, karma and justice was done as Raskin is then next to score, but why should it take a guy his second goal to finally be given his first one? I'm not accepting that. Well, he scored anyway. You've got to... Why? He scored 2 the day. He should have 2. Fricky got. I know the result doesn't matter and the 3 points doesn't matter or anything like that, but Raskin scored 2 goals a day. Why should we be happy that only 1 was given? It doesn't make any sense. Now, the actual goal comes from a corner, and it came a couple minutes after I did tweet you. I wish we would stop wasting our time crossing the ball to Suter. The boy can't win anything in the air, never gets anything on target. We should just keep continually to hit our crosses at Raskin, because he's the only in that can time a run. And to be fair, Raskin then steps up and scores, so that was quite a funny Nostradamus style moment. But we love to see Raskin getting his second goal of the game, obviously on the first one being given. It was nice to see Tavernier sign off with an assist right there as well. So we are 2-1 up, and we do have some chances to end the game, you know what I mean? Danilo gets a brilliant cross played to him that gets pulled back, and he should probably score, but it's a very good save for the goalkeeper. We then have a major chance with Dessers as the ball goes down the left hand side. It gets chipped to the back post by Czerny. Dessers has a chance, but it's then given as offside. But I actually think he's onside, so if he goes in, well, I'm saying that, you know what I mean? I'm saying if it goes in, VAR will correct it. But as we've already seen, VAR never. But where we have those quick-fire chances, Hibs then have their quick-fire. And the first one comes from the left-hand side. Tavernier's not quick enough to stop a cross. It's the last game of the season. Can I keep it together? Just one more frickin' time. The ball comes in to the back post, and Cadden ends up hitting his volley just when you're thinking, by God, we got away with that. Well, we never. Because 37 seconds later, Hibs have the ball in the back of net, and guess the way that it came down. Yeah, you get it. Down the left-hand side, Tavernier isn't quick enough to stop. A cross comes into the mixer. Butland's, I don't even know what Butland's doing there. He just sort of forward air it, and it's a bullet header from Boyle, who I believe scored his 99th goal for Hibernian. A goal did they deserve? Probably, given the chances they created, but again, they were helped by Tavernier not being quick enough anywhere to stop or get close to a winger who wants to cross it, Tav. And we've also got Butland, short sleeve Butland, diving about there, getting anywhere near it. And I think I've already mentioned so far, but I think that might be Jackie Butland's last game game at Rangers. And I understood it for the home game, because you're giving him a goodbye. But what's Liam Kelly done to deserve to be dropped? I thought he was great in his last game, but then Butland gets his goodbye at home. Kelly doesn't get a goodbye at home, and then he doesn't get played the day, and Butland makes another big mistake. Feels very weird, but again, you were sometimes a pleasure to watch, Jackie B. You had great moments in a penalty shoot. You had some great moments even scoring a penalty and then having a couple of big performances for us. But overall, it's been very, very unfortunate the way it's played out, and I wish you well in your future endeavours, which I imagine won't be here at this club. Now, the end of the game did have a couple half chances for both sides. The biggest chances for Rangers, one of them comes in the 77th minute, where Dessers does everything right. Powerful running, holds the defender off, but he can't make the simple pass to Danilo, so he cuts back, but then he beats him and you get right. But then the cross is absolutely chronic, and you think, oh, Danilo's there for a tap in. But then Danilo does have a chance to score, played by Dessers, as Tav plays it to Dessers to Danilo. Danilo's shot is low and hard, and it's the best save of the day for the goalkeeper, and that was sort of it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know what I mean? The game's maybe our season summed up in one word, and I imagine, or one game I should say, and it's probably something a lot of others have said, but it really is. It was a game filled with defensive mistakes. It was a game we looked absolutely tragic at the back. We scored a couple goals but never took enough chances, and the way and the manner in which we conceded has been the exact same way all season, and we've not done really anything today. The one thing I do want to talk about towards the end of the game is, what would you do with Nana Casemiro, ladies and gentlemen, because he's came back after what looked to be a season-ending injury a couple months ago, has looked pretty good. You'd argue he looked our best fullback again today, despite barely kicking a football. Is he one you maybe bring back next year? I know not many people will be watching to this part of the video, but Nana, yes, or Nana, no. Let me know down, you know where, by now. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The season has came down, and despite my frustrations about the official, the draw's probably a fair result in terms of that. But again, if we get given a goal, that could drastically change it, as goals they change everything. But again, I can't sit here for certainty say if we had been given that, we wouldn't have just chucked another in the back of net. No way how weak that back line is, and how much of a paper bag Jack Butland seems to be in the net these days. But that's it for another season. That's it for the curtain has officially drawn down, and the only thing I want to say left, because I know not everybody watches the other content, like the video uploaded yesterday and everything that they just watch for the match recaps. Thank you so much for spending another season with me. It's been one that I've genuinely no liked, and I think I've made that quite clear. You know what I mean? There's been something about this season, I've never felt anything like it. There's been a genuine frustration. There's a lot of unlikable things both on the park and off the park. But again, as we did say, it's often darkest before the dawn. We stole it for a very, very good movie. There is a takeover coming. There should be some fresh things. Hopefully a lot of people is leaving. Hopefully some decent players are coming back in, or enough dross leaves that the new players come in and can make a difference to what has been a squad of failure this season. But again, the main point is to thank you all so much for spending another year with me. If I see you during the summer, during which I imagine will be a madness, let's hope it's all good vibes. But if I didn't see you again until the very first game in next season, take care of yourselves, enjoy your summer. I've been CJ Over 92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best, and bye bye.